Good afternoon and welcome back to another episode of Conscious Dating Online. I am your host, Francis Mahan. Today episode will be about youth, the beauty of youth, and how the transition of being young, growing, changes our perspective about relationships. You see, youth is like a flower. It blossoms. It has color, beauty, texture, and it is innocent because it grows afloat with a beauty that is enhanced through the soil of earth and water. And so are we when we're young. It is easy to see life from a different perspective when you're young. The illusion of falling in love, the idea that even though you're 16 years old, you can establish a relationship with an adult when in essence maturity is important. Today's world is giving us an insurmountable amount of information by which our children are adhering and they are learning and maturing faster than we have ever expected. You see, information is on the internet, it's on the social media, it's everywhere you can tap with your fingers in order for you to search and find it in a diversity of avenue, such as information on internet, pornography, people out there that are coerced with malice intention, targeting children of innocence in order to benefit. I am not going to make comments in negative connotation. However, we are aware as adults that everything is out there and we must protect our children. Why must we protect our children? Because in order for them to establish a healthy relationship in the future, they need a maturity that teaches them not only how valuable they are as an individual, but self worth. You see, like a storm, youth blossoms into summer, winter, and spring and fall, and then it withers and it changes. Then we grow. And as we grow, we get more experience and we understand more and we know ourselves even further, which is what is so important. I have recently been watching some of the television or YouTube channels on judges creating a status for people that come for help on TV through a show. I'm not going to mention the city, not necessary. It's similar to Judge Judy show, in which people bring their problems and in hope of having the judge solve it for them or help them come to a conclusion. And we see oftentimes how a diversity of children are so lost into the false idea of this world and the presentation of shows that do not value individual for who they are, but rather teaches them how to value themselves based upon money, based upon material things, not based upon an individual, their moral values, their norms, their upbringing, their parents' teaching. In other words, kids are diverting from the way the parents teach them and learning on their own because to some extent they are smarter than their parents. As they connect and communicate to the network of information that is available out there, they're more likely to learn faster, more likely to be aware and conscious of the reality of what's going on outside. Nonetheless, they're not conscious of themselves because they are imitating and they are absorbing images from others rather than themselves. That does not help nor influence their ability to make choices and to evaluate what is good for them and what is not. In other words, the peer pressure is larger than the possibility of our youth today to be able to choose for themselves what is and is not good for them. It is beautiful when we see children falling in love, 16, 15 years old, high school, junior, and they think the world is totally different than the reality of what is. Of course, is the illusion of puppy love, the illusion that they are in love. And in some cases, we see people committing physical, mental, verbal, and even sexual abuse in the name of love. Because there is a new wave of control out there in the world. It was leading our children to being lost, to being taken, to being taken advantage of through internet, social media, intimidation, control, mind control, to influence them and their naivete to do things that they're not mature to do, to the extent of prostituting, whether it is boys or girls, because they're innocent, they don't know, they're coerced, they're controlled, and they are manipulated. How do we as adults help this wave of sick influence that is damaging the perception of what our children are learning from the world outside themselves? Parents feel hopeless because they don't have 24-hour control over their children and what they're searching for on the internet. Unless it is our responsibility and the responsibility of the government to try to use image and influences that are more positive and more creative for the youth of tomorrow, more educational, more loving, more compassionate, and more towards the norm of a self worth individual rather than the influence of money and greed and material possession. We as coach can help by helping them through coaching and teaching like this video that self-worth is more important than having a new car, a relationship, and thinking that you're in love, but making the big mistake of getting pregnant so young that by the time you mature, you regret being pregnant, you resent having a child, and you realize as a young teenager that you were not mature enough to make the decision to be a mother or a father. Nonetheless, once the responsibility of having a child is present, they must follow through. They have to nourish the child, they have to love the child, and they have to be a positive influence. How can a child be a positive influence who is not mature enough to be able to do that mentally, emotionally, nor at a spiritual level? I believe that either churches, schools, and programs that are out there to help teenagers and to help children understand the true meaning and true value of self worth in life and education should give them the opportunity to learn to understand how important it is that the choices that they make will have consequential evidence in the. And evidence can be either pregnancy, mental abuse, physical abuse, kidnapping, prostitution, anything that you are not ready to get involved, but as a result of immaturity, you decided to do something that you perhaps were not able to decide in the moment or did not know what you were doing. You were not aware. Now, with this in mind, let me give you an example of something I saw. I saw a 16-year-old who had a boyfriend that was 18. And she came over to a house to take care of a person that needed help. He was on a wheelchair, 50 years old, the father of her boyfriend. This 50 years old influenced this young teenager who is only 16 that he will give her all the things that she needs in life, including a card, a new visa, everything that she needs to establish a more comfortable life in exchange for either sexual favors or to marry him. Not only is he committing something that is unacceptable in our society and according to the rules, because this child is only 16 years old, not mature enough. She's not of age to make a decision. And she lived with her father. Her parents are separated. But look at the consequences of the maturity of a 50-year-old versus a 16-year-old that is maturing into trying to learn her identity. Where does she belong in society? Who she is as a human being and a woman. How does she make a concrete decision about marriage when she has no idea what awaits for her in the future? It is sad. And although there have been cases like Woody Allen that, married a child that was more than half his age and they're still together, but think of the influences that a mature person has on a child, the things that they can buy for them, the things they can do for them in exchange for love. If we were to categorize this in a very unpleasant manner, we can say that this is no more than prostitution, although who are we to judge? But when you sell your values and your moral ethics for material things, you are selling your soul, not just your body. You're selling your soul, and there are consequences to be it on. You decide this person is too old for you, you're still in your 30s, and you now begin to understand who you are as a man or a woman. You decide this is not for me. Those are the decisions that we need to learn to make early on in life so that we don't regret the things that happen, such as having a child, being mentally abused, being taken advantage of, being prostitute, being controlled mentally. All of these influences that are so negative for personal well-being are not good for an individual who wants to flourish and be the best that they can be in life. Because we all have something to offer. And if we, as young adults, allowed ourselves to be able to express who we are as a human being, as a being, a soul, a compassionate individual, perhaps the opportunities that life has to offer us will be much, much better. Like I said before, youth is like winter, summer, fall, and spring, and it withers with time. All that beauty, all that youth will eventually wither, vanish, and then the reality of who you are as an individual will finally be present through your consciousness and awareness of who you are. So when making decisions as a young adult as to whether you engage in a relationship or you follow someone that is above your age, Think twice. There are consequences to it. This is Francis Mahan from Conscious Dating Online. Even though this is not for children, but is guided toward anyone who is making a decision and is not sure of what they want to do. If you're young, be careful, be aware, be conscious of your feelings, and listen to your parents. It's been a pleasure as usual. This is Francis May. Love and light. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.